Hi everyone, this is Richard. In this video we're going to talk about classes as well as bools in the elements. So if you think about data binding, you can actually get classes, just say class equals some type of class, and change this value to make it a different class, just like you can with any other attribute, or I'm sorry, DOM property, excuse me. So you could change any other property here of the class. So you can give it class.firstClass, class.secondClass, whatever you actually want to do. I'm not that creative with names. Sorry, that's why I'm getting first class, okay? Terrible name, by the way, okay? So that's what we can do. But what's interesting in Angular is the concept of using a bool in this area. So in other words, what I can do is I can start out with class.firstClass. And if the bool says true or false, if it says true, this class, it will be class equals first class. If it's false, it will not have the characteristics of that class, okay? So there's several things of which you could do. Okay, so what is the baseline? What am I trying to do with CSS? So notice I changed this right here. So let's go to this other page because it was getting a little bit messy. And I'll simply say first class is going to be color red and it's going to be a large 55 pixel. But the baseline div is going to be purple and 20 pixels. Okay? So if I go back to my template right here, I'll see that it says class.firstClass equals some class and some class equals true. So it's going to automatically jump to the first class CSS properties, right? So it's going to be a large and red. That's what it's going to actually show in the very beginning itself. But when I have a little more information here. Let's format this a little bit. Okay. Then on this input element, the input type is a button. The value equals submit. When I click on it, it's going to change class. And what is the change class method? If some class, right here, if it is true, so just by mentioning it, if this is true, then I'll change it to false. Otherwise, it's going to be false, right? So I'm going to change it to true. So it's just going to change the class back and forth, right? So let's do that, and let's see what actually happens. So it'll show, remember, like we talked about, some class is true, therefore class.firstClass, it will take the characteristics of the first class. But what if when I click the button, it should change this to false. And change it to purple and a smaller character because that's the baseline characteristics that we normally have. Okay? Can I do something else? Well, I could do something like maybe I didn't want this. Maybe instead I didn't want that as the baseline. What I wanted instead to say .second class. I wanted to do that instead. So I would say, let's take a look at that. If you click on it, it goes back to a standard no CSS type of thing. All right? Oh, by the way, when I click it again, it changes back because it goes from true to false, false to true, right? But what if I wanted to do first class true, second class false? What I could do is class dot second class equals not some class. So if I do that, not some class, it'll be just the opposite, right? If this is true, this will be the case. If this is false, this will be the case, right? Instead of the default being nothing, it'll be no styling. It'll be either one of these. At least hope so. Let's see if this works. I always have to cross my fingers. Okay, there we go. Okay, so there you can go. But of course, that's a little limiting. So that's an interesting idea in which they introduced. It's that it's a bool. You could do it yes or no. So instead of having more code down here where you need to do this and do that, change it to this, change it to the value, because some of these things you only want to have either this or this. You don't want one of 5 different choices. If you do, you'll put the code down here and you'll have the method that says change it to one of 5 different classes. But many times all you want to do is to change it to one other thing. And I thought that was really a neat idea. So that here, if it's true and if it's not, we go here. Okay, so there are other characteristics in Angular where they keep this concept of the bools in the element itself, and you'll use it to take advantage of changing elements, adding, subtracting, removing, or whatever. Okay? Thanks.